Professor Carol, but I am a digital media arts professor here at SJCC, and I just wanted to welcome you all to the first workshop of Digital Media Week. This is our first week that or the first Digital Media Week that we're doing. So we're so excited again to have you all here. Today, what I'd like to kind of present to you, I have a few other workshops today, but what I'd like to present is really the idea of building your portfolio. For DMA, this is also something that you can apply to other things as well. If you are working in a creative field or you'd like to work in a creative field. So I just wanted to get it started. Now, the first thing I'd like to do is, again, we want to think about, all right, so we're going to make a digital media portfolio, but what are we going to make it for? Why are we making it? Well, actually, we want to make sure that we have a portfolio to showcase our skills. We want to make sure that we can showcase our creativity. So say, for instance, if you're, working for yourself, you'll be able to go ahead and share that with your clients and say, look at all the cool stuff that I've done before, and this is what I'm capable of. Will you hire me? That kind of thing. Or another thing is, if you're working with maybe a bigger company, maybe you want to even apply to other colleges and things like that. You want to start thinking about how you're going to present yourself in a professional way, where people can kind of get a glimpse of who you are as a creative artist. And especially in digital spaces, what we're going to be working at or looking at is how you can make sure that you can have almost like a self brand to kind of come across, where people will be able to understand who you are very quickly, what you're capable of very quickly, and then maybe move you on to that next part of whether it be a job interview, whether it be another type of, I guess, rung on trying to get you to the final interview and eventually a job. Maybe you'll be a part of a school, etc. So that's what we're hoping to get from this little bit of a workshop today. Now, again, portfolios are needed in most creative fields. This is also including the traditional art spaces as well. Or again, if you're starting your own business, you want to be freelancing, you'll need to go ahead and create this type of thing as well. Now, um, maybe when I went to school, you saw that portfolios were mostly paper-based, very little website kind of stuff going on, just very minuscule. I would have to send in a big, like, I guess like I'd make my own book basically, and then send that to different studios, different animation companies. I was going for animation jobs at the time, and hope that they got it and hope that I'd hear from them back. A lot of times, what you'll see when you're looking for jobs, internships, etc., in that old-fashioned way, they would not return the materials to you. So say, for instance, I spent a lot of money printing all of the work that I needed, making a DVD at the time or a CD at the time, sending it to a company, but I wouldn't hear back from them if for any reason, to be honest. Not that I was super rejected or maybe I was lost in the bunch. I wouldn't know, but that's okay. And that's actually still kind of par for the course when it comes to submitting your portfolios, except for now what you're doing is you're submitting a digital portfolio, most likely in a lot of cases. You'll go by the job description or whatever application description that you have, and you'll see that, of course, you'll send all these materials in, but I will tell you this, if you're kind of in the middle of searching for something right now, you're doing a job search, we actually have another a workshop at the end of the day, kind of in the afternoon, when we talk about job searches. I will say, do not get discouraged at any point. What you do is, again, you're presenting your best self, the best you can at the time. And again, making sure you can highlight some of those skill sets to prospective employers, to a prospective school, and hopefully get them to call you back, let you know that you've been accepted, see all those other good positive things. But again, I want to say, if you don't hear anything from them or if you get a rejection, don't even worry about it. There's more fish in the sea. So I want to start there. Now, we'll be talking more about how you might want to create different specific portfolios for specific things. So say, for instance, if you are a motion graphics person, animation, graphic design, UI, UX design, each one of these types of portfolios will need different things. They will require different things. What you might want to do, just if you've never made a portfolio before, make a general portfolio. And what that might look like is you'll create a general portfolio with all of the things that you're capable of. And then you might have a section for each skill that you might have. So say, for instance, I like animation, right? I have drawing ability in traditional art, like painting, as well as, digital art, but I also can animate in 2D, right? So I will make sure that if I'm having a website, I'll have sections or different types of, I guess, ideas for all of these different types of art styles. Now, again, they're all animation related. That's kind of what I'm going for. So say, for instance, if I do crocheting on the side, or if I do basket weaving on the side, that may not be something that I would like to put into that, even the general portfolio, because that's more of a hobby. Maybe that's like my side hustle or something like that. You might want to make sure that you're doing that maybe in a different, or express yourself in a different way. You can get a little blog or something like that that you're kind of just showing off what you do, but not necessarily, again, what you're going to make money with or you're applying for that space with. Another thing is each of these fields have, I like to call micro specializations. So within animation, you'll see there's storyboarding, technical animation, and they all have different types of portfolios that they probably want to take a look and see. So again, these are portfolios that are going to be more in the general sense that I'm talking about. I'm not going to pretend like I'm an expert in creation of all of these portfolios, but I want to kind of give you an overview of what you'd expect to see in portfolios and how you might want to compare or stack yourself up when it comes to creating your first portfolio. And again, what I would recommend you doing is make sure you take a look at the job listings, the applications, etc. Research other people that are in those spaces and say, what do they look like? What are they putting out there? And when you see that, you'll go, oh, okay, this is the expectation that the industry has for me. This is what another, I'll say UC student, what that portfolio looks like, and they got in. Or maybe this is another type of student that got into a really great, design school or something like that. That's what they use to get in. These are the things that are expected of me in order to be competitive in those spaces. And I will say this, it's not necessarily only skills based. If you can present yourself well, and you can see that they can see that you can work well with others, you're, a congenial person, all that good stuff, and that can come across in your portfolio, you're working hard, you'll see that you're going to be able to still get far, even if you feel like you're still not to the pinnacle. We still have to make sure that we put our best foot out there and we try our best. Now, what I did with my first portfolio, and I do this every time I need to kind of refresh my portfolio just a little bit, is the first thing you need to do is gather all your projects, drawings that you've created, anything. So if you are here with us at SJCC, get all of those projects that you've created for your homework and things like that, put that into one folder. If you, I mean, folder on your desktop, maybe. Okay. And then also if you have like sketchbooks, etc., get those drawings together, put them all in one spot. So if you have a sketchbook or multiple sketchbooks, multiple art projects, put them like in the same room as whatever computer you're working on. So you can do number two, which is make three piles. And what I like to do, or what I've done in that gathering of all the projects, including the digital ones, I would make three little folders, on my desktop. One is awesome work, one is work that can be improved without starting over, and then one is unfinished work, not so good work, stuff that I don't need to use. Things that I can't be proud of, that kind of thing. And what you have in your awesome work are those super polished, finished pieces that I mean, you could say, I got a really great grade on this, and you really love it, right? Maybe something that's a personal project. A lot of people love seeing things that you do not create in school, which is really tough to hear for a student because you're like, I'm already working so hard to create the things for my classes. When do I have time to do a personal project, something that I'm doing on my own? That's where, again, if you happen to have a personal project or something that you've done to the fullest, like maximum of your ability, put that in that awesome work pile. Now, another thing that you can possibly do is use the work that can be improved upon, but without starting over. You can have that also in your back pocket, have that in that secondary pile. And the reason why I put this here is for myself, I would sketch a ton. I would have maybe 15 sketchbooks that I would go through, and I'd see drawings that I really, really liked, but they just weren't finished. They weren't polished. They didn't, I didn't close the lines on them. I didn't color them, etc. If you have a few of those drawings, you could actually go ahead and just kind of spiffy them up, make them better for your portfolio. So I would say do not recreate the wheel. Do not start off from scratch. We're trying to work in a timely manner as if you wanted to create a portfolio this week for a job that you're applying for next week. Okay. So you can do this pretty much in a weekend or so to just gather these things together. That can be a 1 weekend project. And then the next weekend, you could probably say, or the next day of the weekend, like a Saturday, you can say, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and divvy up these different types of things in different piles, like awesome work and work that can be improved upon. And then what I would say is decide what your portfolio is going to be for. So that's going to be, are you applying for a job, internship, academic? What are you applying for? Um, in the, and I'm not quite sure if this still applies, but usually people want like a short portfolio. They want to be able to look through the images or look at your demo reel or something like that really quickly and then move on. So when you take a look at things, you might want to double check your job, the internship title, like what is required of it, what are they looking for so you can actually make sure you're highlighting those skills. For instance, if I'm going for a creature position and I do not have any creatures that I have created for my portfolio, like if I'm doing creature design, making something for like Star Wars or something, then I may not even apply for that unless I actually have uh, the work that is still in the same vein as creature design. But if I'm doing character design, okay, like more general, more broad, and I see that, okay, they're looking for someone who has, figure drawing ability, maybe they're looking for someone who can create funny characters or caricatures, then I'll go ahead and I'll put the best things that I have of like maybe human style drawings, etc. Maybe I have some cartoony different drawings, maybe different styles, and then I'll go ahead and I'll submit for those things. But again, you want to make sure that you're taking a look at what they're looking for through the lens of if you are the person that is looking at your portfolio to pass forward, do you have most of the things that are the requirements for the job? Now, I will say this, I would not limit yourself and say, oh, don't apply for things at all if you're not like hitting all of the bullet points, right? Because there are so many things that you'll see in a job application that really do not apply. For instance, like maybe the joke on the internet right now is, you know, we're looking for someone who's entry level that means has 20 years of experience. It's like, oh my gosh, that person doesn't exist, right? But the idea is not to take a look at that as a way of saying, oh, I can't possibly get this job or position. Still make sure that you present your work, present it well, and then give yourself a shot. Because again, the job that you do not apply for, you're definitely not going to get. So again, I would say, again, just please, please still try. And again, when it comes to your portfolio, you want to make sure that you have your awesome work that's in there. And if you have work that can be improved, make that awesome. And then you'll have just a, beautiful, awesome end-to-end portfolio. Now, when we talk about knowing your target audience, we want to think about it like this. You might actually have to make multiple portfolios for multiple different or for different positions. For instance, I have the ability of doing 2D animation. My 2D animation portfolio most likely will have, a demo reel of my 2D animation, as well as, the character designs, etc., that I might have that will push me forward. It might even have 3D animation just so I can say, look, I can also do this, right? But say, for instance, if that's something that the studio that I'm applying for is not looking for or does not like, or doesn't want, then I might still say, okay, well, I'm not going to um, I give, like, say, for instance, my motion graphics. Like if I have a motion graphics, I have a lot of, I guess, non-character based work. I'm moving shapes and things like that to a animation company that does characters like, I don't know, SpongeBob. That's something that will not apply. They most likely will go, this is not what we're looking for, and they'll throw it out. Another thing that happens also within animation is you'll have character animation where you're drawing or you're doing 2D or 3D animation. You can see that, and they'll make that into a demo reel, which is, again, the, I guess, little clips or snippets of you showing your animation work, right? But then there's also like other fields like storyboarding. And you can of course put, you know, your 2D work or your other animation work in that thing, but you'll need to make sure that you also include storyboards. It'll be very hard to get the storyboarding position if you do not have storyboarding experience in not in the way of creating a job for yourself, but you actually have to show that you can storyboard. You need to make sure that you are utilizing the tools for the job. The same thing goes with technical animation roles or UI UX design. You need to make sure that, I mean, it's really great that you know how to animate. It's really great to know that you can do character design, but if you put that in a UI UX design portfolio, which is more about the user experience and the thinking of things, they'll probably kind of look at it and say, well, this is not really what we're looking for. So that's why you want to make sure that you target your audience, you know what you're applying for, and you might even want to make multiple portfolios for different positions. So if you have all these abilities, you can do that. Now, I would like to let you know also that most companies, or I guess HR departments, your application, where does it go? It usually goes to someone that is not uh, an artist. They're not a creative position, like an HR person, someone who works in um, an administrative role. Sometimes even a robot will go through your application and then weed it out based off of what you put on your resume, etc. So that's why I say don't get discouraged if you feel like you've gotten, rejected or something like that, or no one contacts you. But you want to make sure you can get past that first line of defense that these companies have. And how do you do that? You want to make sure that you have a resume that actually has the skill sets that they're looking for, the keywords that they're looking for in it. You want to make sure that your portfolio is presenting in the way that they are expecting. So they're going, oh, I see. Very clear. You want to make sure your portfolio is, bam, within the first 30 seconds, someone looks at it, they can make it work. It loads quickly, if you're on a website, and they can view it and then make a judgment about your material. Usually within that first 30 seconds, they're going to make a judgment on whether or not you're going to go forward, whether or not you have the material that you need for the company. And at that point, again, when they're looking at that, and it's a snap decision, right? Because they're going through tons and tons of portfolios. I mean, when it comes to resumes, if the robot can't read it or they don't see the keywords, they might just throw it out. If you go through a person who's in an administrative role, if they look at your demo reel and it's not your best work first, it's like your first starter work, you want to make sure that you put the best work, again, throughout, sprinkled throughout. If you have some weaker pieces, you can, hide them, or sandwich them in between. But again, you want to make sure that you're presenting well, hopefully the whole time. And you have nothing but strong work, things that are intriguing, things that are exciting to look at. And you want to start off with a bang so someone can get their attention caught and actually continue to look at your demo reel or your portfolio. And finally, you want to make sure that you fit in, or you're looking at the company, prospective company, or prospective, um, like in this case, like maybe a UC school or something like that you're looking at, and see if your what you're applying with, like your materials, your portfolio fits in. For instance, I tend to draw like cute, happy, like round creatures like Pokemon or something, right? If I'm doing that, or if I'm drawing like Disney princesses, I'm probably not going to, unless I have a certain style applied to it, say, oh, Blizzard, the gaming company, I want to draw orcs for you, but I've never drawn an orc in my life, and I probably don't have the ability to be honest with you, because I haven't studied. I'm not into the culture of drawing like this kind of hyper fantasy realism type of style. That again, you might want to look at different studios, see how your style might fit in. Larger studios might have a ton of versatile styles, so you might not have a problem at all. But I know that if you're kind of applied to like maybe Pixar, the Pixar portfolios, those are going to be looking like Pixar. They're going to try and find your materials and say, hey, like, will you make stuff that like kind of fits into our culture, what we want to do here? So if you're drawing bloody, gory images and then you send it to them, they're going to not know what to do with you, and they might again pass over you. If you're drawing cute little bouncy designs, they might start thinking a little bit more about you, that kind of thing. So again, you might want to filter it also, making sure that you filter in like, oh, am I applying to this type of place? Do I have the right, I guess, portfolio that it looks like I fit into the culture of that place? Now, bare bones, what do you include in your portfolio? Well, besides the actual work, right? Which are maybe depending 12 to 20 images, you'll see that within different job applications are going to ask for specific styles and how you're going to present your work. Sometimes they'll ask for a website. If you're having a website, you just don't want it to go on forever with all of your work. Again, just make it really concise, probably maximum 20 images or so. You can cycle those out when you start getting, more work that's more strong, right? Always making sure that you're playing towards your strongest pieces. But then you need these things that are like, even if you're going for a internship, maybe they don't even need a portfolio from you for certain roles. You'll need to make sure that you have a resume. You need a bio, like some kind of thing about yourself that, is like maybe a few sentences or a paragraph talking about your passion for art or whatever the design field you are in. And then maybe a little bit about like maybe your personal, like, where you're from, that kind of stuff, right? Maybe why you got into this field, things like that. And then your contact information, like your, at least your email. I used to include my name, email, and phone number and have that printed on every page of my package. Like if it's on my, just really small on the edge of my portfolio. Of course, if you're like looking at an online portfolio, you probably will have that contact information. Maybe you'll have it at the top, or maybe you'll have it, on a separate contact page. But you want to make sure that, like, say, for instance, if someone who's in HR or the robot is looking at a random printed page from your website, they go, oh, that's, for me, Carol's work. Oh, how do we contact her? I need to be able to contact her, even if I had the whole thing printed and all the pages are out of order. I would actually have my contact information visible on every little bit of that. Same thing goes with your demo reel. When you have a demo reel, again, that's a video format kind of portfolio. You want to make sure that you have that contact information embedded as well as at the beginning or the end or both when it comes to your demo reel. You want to make sure that, if they start it up and they go, oh man, I got to contact, Carol, you go, okay, that's my contact information. And that's why I used to include my phone number as well as my email address to make sure that they knew exactly who they're contacting, no matter whether they pause, stop the demo reel, or in my portfolio. Another thing that's optional in some positions is a cover letter. I really like cover letters. Not everyone will ask for a a cover letter. But basically that's just like a actual letter, like a dear hiring manager, dear so-and-so, and talking about why you're applying for the job itself. So you'll make sure you say exactly the job title, talk about your merits and why you're the best person for the job. And then afterwards, thank them for their time, of course, in reading it, and give them a way of contacting you within that cover letter, saying, hey, I'll reach out to you in a couple weeks for an update on this position. If you happen to have the email of the hiring manager, you probably would like to send it to them directly. But it's also something that you can also, again, package within your portfolio materials. But again, that's optional. Cover letters in creative spaces aren't always needed. Sometimes they just want resume and then your portfolio link. Sometimes they just want resume, bio, and your portfolio link. But it's always important to see if you can have a little bit of that going on. Now, I wanted to break down into different fields and what or how you might expect to see certain things. And I might have to go and click around for this, but again, we're hoping to have a website where we can house all of this information here, which is like our PowerPoints, etc., for DMA Link. So for motion graphics, if you're familiar, this is actually kind of a large field, video-based field. And a lot of times it will include, kinetic type, information graphics, but it's going to be basically moving images on the screen, usually using After Effects in order to create really interesting, most times story-based images, right? And what you might want to do is do a little research. Where are your targets? Try and figure out what studios actually do motion graphics, like studios like Buck, right? So that's another big studio that you could kind of look at. You can also look at advertising kind of like studios too, but open your mind to other possibilities. Think about this. Every large company will need to use some kind of motion graphics or video design style person. So don't limit yourself to just like places like this. Think about other places like even Salesforce, even Google, even these other type of maybe non-creative companies might need your help, like General Motors, etc. They will need someone to create these things. Now, will they have a job that will say motion graphics designer? Maybe they won't, but they might have something or a role that when you read the actual description, it's exactly that, a motion graphics designer. So we'll have a talk a little bit later on today about how you can do job searches and how you can look for internships. And it'll be a little bit more out of the box in the way you might think about it. But again, with motion graphics, the things that you most likely will need in your portfolio, you want to make sure that you're creating a demo reel, showcasing your motion graphics, make sure that you have dynamic visuals, your storytelling is there. You want to make sure that if you can, include project descriptions. So if you're having it and housing it on a website, if you worked with multiple people on it, or if you storyboarded it out, you might want to show the work involved in how you created that final video image, right? Another thing is you want to highlight your skills. This is something that you highlight in your resume, not just in like showing off your work, but these are the keywords that the robot's going to try and find to either weed out your resume or keep it in. You might want to highlight that you have a great knowledge of animation principles, storyboarding, video editing, and then sometimes 3D modeling will happen in this software that you have to know, or you might want to put on your resume and then learn it. um, you need to know Adobe After Effects for sure, or Cinema 4D for 3D elements, Maya, Blender. There's so many different types of software that you can go ahead and use. But again, on your resume, you should have a place for skills and a place for software to highlight those things. So when you see the robot going through your work, they know that you know what to do when it comes to this field. Now for animation, there's so many different categories of animation, um, techniques, styles. Remember, animation, you can also do slash games. Also, I will say this in motion graphics, you could also put slash games. Actually, all of these things, when we talk about UI, UX design, you can do slash games because, again, gaming studios also have a great deal of all of these different areas working together. And, want to say this in the Bay Area, there's quite a lot of game studios. So I just want to say if you're looking for internships and jobs, don't limit yourself to just the big things, but also think about, these independent game studios. They do exist, and there's quite a lot of them in the Bay Area. Now, with animation portfolios, you might want to make sure that you're zoning in on the type of animation job that you're looking for. Like I said before, with storyboarding is its own thing, kind of. Uh, 2D animation is its own thing, kind of. You might want to, again, things that you'll see that they want to see are the foundational skills of animation, making sure you know timing, anticipation, expressive use of squash and stretch, like as an animation principle. Um, you know, Maybe you'll do character animation, story development, like, preliminary images, as well as like storyboarding will fit into this as well. You can draw a little bit, and also life drawing, figure drawing, and sometimes animal drawing, right? So it'll be a lot of different things. Again, these are kind of a general kind of way of thinking about what you might need for animation. But again, I would say look up a job description for a place that you dream of, right? The job that you want, and then see what kind of qualifications that those guys are looking for, as well as maybe someone who already has the job, try and find their portfolio online. There's quite a lot of people that have their portfolios online for viewing, and you'll be able to see their own ability and, like, again, what they're looking towards. And this goes again for not just jobs and internships, but if you're looking to even join these fields within animation major at a four-year college. Software ability, Adobe Animate is huge, as well as Toon Boom Harmony. Those are kind of toe to toe right now for 2D animation spaces, or Blender, which is free, which is nice, and Maya. And Maya and Blender have very similar interfaces. So if you do not have access to Maya right now, you can, of course, you can get actually free Maya with being a student, but you have to, like, make sure you go through the rigmarole of signing up to get that. But also Blender is free, so you can always do that. There's tons of tutorials and things like that on the internet if you want to kind of dip your toe into uh, 3D animation on Blender, and as well as 2D animation on Blender. For graphic design, there's so many things that are called or considered graphic design. Making PowerPoints in the corporate world can also be considered graphic design. So again, make sure you read the application descriptions. If you do not read them, then you're like applying for a PowerPoint job. And if that's not your passion, maybe it's the wrong way, right? So graphic design, it'll put you in many different things, lots of different fields, right? But you might want to just double check, your own work against others in the world. Make sure you have, like, interesting projects. I know that for me, as well as my other professor colleagues, we try our best to make really interesting projects for y'all so you can express yourself and then also start building a really strong portfolio. And with other places, like if you want to go on platforms like Behance or Dribble, see what people are up to, see what people are creating. Maybe you can start thinking about something that's even more cutting edge, or get something that's separate from your assignments that you get in class to include into your graphic design portfolio. So that's something to, again, think about. Oh, let me let this person in. Okay, hi. All right. So for graphic design, again, it's the idea of embracing your originality, making sure that you create narrative through your design projects, You're going to need to know typography, layout design, color theory, and branding. Those are, again, those keywords that you might want to plop into your resume or plop into your cover letter to get the robot to seek you out, to see you. And then also the software abilities that you need to know are Illustrator, Photoshop, Adobe InDesign. And I would say go farther. If you know more software than what is I have here or whatever, do it. To put everything out that you know on there. On my resume, I'm like, I know Microsoft Word. Yes. And the reason why is because, again, we want to showcase all of the software that you know, whatever types of knowledge that you know that is pertaining to the industry. That's really, really important. And for UI UX design, it's going to be more or less about creating user-friendly digital interfaces, making sure you can optimize user experiences. I have some examples here, or a link to some examples that I can share with you all afterwards as well. But again, it's really more or less about tracking that user experience and showcasing that. So what you'll need to make sure is that you can, again, know the principles. You're prioritizing user-centered design. You're able to conduct, or you have conducted, usability testing. And then you can also see that you have created some kind of balance between functionality and aesthetics. Like it looks good and it actually works well. It's working the way that you, through the user testing, you're going, oh, of course, that's what's happened. This person's really smart. I didn't think about creating a button that does that or has small motion to show that, to lead them through the design. The skills that you'll need here are wireframing, prototyping, user research, and then making sure that you can show the information architecture. So these are different, again, through different projects that you'll see that we have in our classes, our UI UX classes, as well as, again, looking it up, see other people's like research and say, I need to figure out what I need to put in my UI UX design portfolio. Look that up, Google it, and you'll see so many different examples of those portfolios. For software, making sure you don't get weeded out by the robot as well. You want to show that you know, I mean, Adobe XD is actually on its way out right now. So maybe you could probably say if you have practice in Adobe XD, that are using it, but that's kind of old school now. Adobe's not really pursuing that, but Sketch and Figma. Figma's huge for UI UX and that design field. Now, the key here is presentation. So we want to make sure we present well. You want to make sure that, like you're not actually like getting up and you're not saying anything quite yet. You haven't gotten to the interview yet. So you're thinking, what kind of presentation do I need to worry about? Well, you want to make sure that you are showing your work in a clear way, but also an engaging way. So going back to what I've said previously is that HR person, that administrator, they're going to be looking at your demo reel or your portfolio for like 30 seconds and decide whether to keep you or throw you in the circular file and say, okay, maybe not that person, right? So you want to make sure that it's engaging and dynamic, but also speaks to your own creativity, is personal, and you're basically branding yourself. So what I would do is you start thinking about the type of work that you create and how you're going to show it. So you want to make sure that whatever branding that you create for yourself, that it's consistent and it's maintained across all platforms. You can't really change like how certain things are presented, like via LinkedIn or maybe another third-party website. But what you can do is make sure that within your own website, maybe your own marketing materials, like how you choose to, take a picture of your work, making sure that that's consistent. Like every time you show a storyboard, maybe have a nice clear border around the edges and your contact information in the corner. That would be really great. Another thing is maybe you're using consistent color design across the platforms or a signature. Maybe you don't even go by your actual, name. Maybe you go by artist type of name, like There are a few, instead of um, going by, Pablo Picasso, maybe you just call yourself Pablo, something, interesting, but whatever works within your design world. Make sure your fonts are consistent across different things as well. You want to make sure that you feel like a branded package. It's not too bad. It's not too difficult. I'll tell you a little bit more about that when we get into the idea of creating the website. I would say create the website first, probably, and then um, choose your design choices to enhance your maybe paperwork, business card, etc., if you choose to go for that kind of thing as well. But you want to make sure that you're still tailoring to your audience, making sure that expectations are met. And this is not in the way of, and I'll say this, tailoring your audience is not like, maybe you might think, I'm gonna need, if Professor Carroll says, I'm gonna need multiple portfolios for each, you know, discipline or skill set that I need, then I'm going to be making like 3 different websites and I'm going to be making them all look different. You do not have to do that. What you can do within the same website, you know, you're one person, so still brand yourself the same, and then just have the different sections or different pages on the website to express, your motion graphics projects, your drawn or hand-drawn projects, your traditional projects. And then you can have like a generalized page as well. If we have a little bit of time, I'll show you my own portfolio website, and I'll walk you through why I did what I did and how that works with some of my paperwork as well. Now, for portfolio websites and social media, they work hand in hand. Why? Well, when you take a look at like Googling, if you Google someone's name, most likely that person will be put on the top of the list if they have a lot of, I'll say, trails on the internet, whether it be you have a Instagram, an X page, you have a portfolio website, a LinkedIn, and they're all linked together, and you all mention your website on each one. That will help with what they call SEO, or search engine optimization, to bring your link up higher. A lot of times what people will do when they receive your application is Google you, they'll say, oh, who's this? Okay. They like what they see, then they'll Google you, and they'll try and figure out if you seem like a cool person to hang out with, if there's any more accomplishments that you've done besides what's being shown on your website, etc. So with that is good, but it also can be kind of wibbly, like it could be a little bit bad depending on your internet presence. So that's why we want to keep things professional, okay? So what you can do if you're looking to make a really quick website, or just be there, be out there, maybe you want to create a quick portfolio and you want to create it in a design space, you can use platforms like Behance or Dribbble or Bridgegood. Those guys are coming later on in the week to talk about their portfolio website. And you can upload your things there and then be amongst other creative folks that you can be found sometimes a little bit easier amongst your peers. So for instance, if someone's cruising on Behance and they're looking for a design and they'll see you there along with all these other people, they might go, oh, cool. And then they'll look at your work within the same category, right? Now, if you make a free website, like I'm saying here, you can also pay for a website if you'd like, but I like free websites, like a Wix, Weebly, or WordPress. I have a WordPress. You can go ahead and create one of those types of free websites. If you want to get fancy, you can pay for a domain name, like to get your, the big long website name replaced with, yourname.com. You can do that. And that gives you a little bit more control of the branding and how you want to be perceived throughout, the internet. For instance, I can make a Behance portfolio, I can make a Bridgegood portfolio, but everything's going to look like a Bridgegood or a Behance type of thing. And also, there's all of those other kind of things. People are going to be looking at other people's work as well as mine there. So a really great way of trapping the audience is to just make your own standalone website and have all of your things on it. You're controlling the space, and then it makes it so they look at wherever that is, right? That website that you've made, see your portfolio, and if they need to go and navigate somewhere else, they can navigate somewhere else, but they will not be distracted by other people and other artists, which is really cool. Now, if there is a benefit of having both, again, for that search engine optimization, but I would say if I were you, if this is your first portfolio, I would put together like a template website like a Weebly, Wix, or WordPress. Just get your work up there. And then you can, of course, enhance it as time goes by. And then you can utilize those other platforms when you have time to upload your work there as well. And then you can kind of join those things as well. My note here is to make sure you're Google searching blank portfolio examples. So again, if you have not made a portfolio, you don't know exactly what the role or the title of job application that you're going for, just try it. Just put, you know, if it's like something I didn't name, like geez, like technical animator portfolio examples, rigging portfolio examples, anything that again is a job that you can search for. Just try and figure out if someone's already made a portfolio for it, so you can again take a look at it and see if you're aligning with the expectations for that, as a goal. And then I say, what about Instagram? What about X? You can have social media link integration on your website, your home website, like, on my WordPress, I also have my LinkedIn and all that other stuff, right? But I would stress to you to make sure if you have an existing one of these things, like Instagram, Facebook, whatever, you might want to consider making a separate one that's professional only for showing off of your designs, doing things that are professional, instead of maybe you like cooking recipes, maybe you like to troll people on the internet, something like that. You want to keep all of that other noise out. You want to make sure that you have a professional presence on the internet that's linked to your professional work. But if you like to do other stuff on the internet, then just keep that as your other screen name. But make sure that it does not connect you with, um, your professional world, I guess. So that's why I personally will think if you're going to have a social media presence that you link, definitely that should be LinkedIn, because it's a professional social media website. You're supposed to post professional things there. And then it is also really great for networking as well. So I would say, above all things, get your LinkedIn updated and started. That's another thing that many employers will look for. I've found people through LinkedIn as well. I've met friends through LinkedIn for professional purposes that are, they're great. So again, I would say there's so much noise on X, Instagram, TikTok, etc. Those can be for your own social media journey, but keep it professional. If you're going to be in those spaces, make a separate X or a separate Instagram, separate TikTok for those kind of more professional things. But that's why I say just stick to LinkedIn, and then that's it. Now, again, what you might want to do for any of these types of websites that you might be creating, you want to make sure it's high quality visual. So you shouldn't have any pixels. You shouldn't have, a 280p, like tiny looking, demo reels. It should look really vibrant. You should be able to see that it's like, very professional in quality. And then if you have room for descriptions, make sure you describe the work as well. Maybe sometimes you can have a little blurb about how the piece was created, etc. For these, and I think I kind of talked a little bit about this, but again, you want to use those other types of things like LinkedIn, Twitter, or X now, for networking and showcasing your creative processes. So the idea with using social media with your website is your portfolio. It should be geared towards more of the polished pieces that you have. But if you're using social media to promote your work or be out there, then you want to kind of show like maybe a process photo, a storyboard, a few character sketches to kind of build up to different projects. And then you can show them, oh, this weekend I drew Superman or something like that. That's a good place for, if you have a fan art piece or something like that. You go ahead and put that on your social media platforms. It's not a part of your portfolio, but it gives more of a breadth or an understanding to your prospective, employer, or whoever is looking at this, right? And saying, oh, okay, this person's also into Superman. This is like, or, maybe this is not the same place where you do basket weaving and you put that there. But again, you're supposed to kind of say, oh, these are things that are in line with or projects that person's working on. So they're not just stopping drawing or stopping, making motion graphics. They're actually doing other things to help enhance their skills on the side. And that's something that's really good. It creates kind of a idea of the whole person. Another thing that you'll have to do with all of your work, when it comes to social media, is to make sure that you have your keywords in there. Think of the keywords that we're talking about with those robots. What is it? It's art, animation, gaming, and be broad with it. And then also be, technical with it. So if people are looking for storyboarding, which is kind of like a sub piece for animation, you can say storyboarding. But if someone's looking for animation, animation is also storyboarding. You can put that also underneath there. But you want to make sure that it's relevant hashtag or relevant tags that you're using for your social media. And again, if you can, make sure that you have that brand all the way across. So when it comes to your artistic style, your language that you use, it'll be the same across all platforms. So that the cool part is you don't necessarily need to kind of recreate the wheel on your designs. You can actually just use the same ones. And then you'll still need to make sure that you craft a bio for each one of these social media platforms. It can be cute, like little and sweet, like the ones that you see on Twitter, or it can be more thoughtful and thought out, more business-like, like the ones that you'll see on LinkedIn. You might even copy paste the same one that you're using for your online portfolio. So I'm gonna wrap this up pretty soon, but you'll see a thing that you need to continue to do is networking. You can network on LinkedIn. You can actually go to places like professional organizations in person or even online. They're like meetups, and see if you can go ahead and say, hey, um, I need a mentor. Find also, there's so many inclusive organizations now that will also promote different types of diversity within the digital media industry that you can also count on. Now, well, I think this is the last but not least kind of thing, is make sure that you're, again, infusing your own personality, the way that you infuse it into your art and your work, let that also come across within your branding. So just to wrap things up, and then we can do questions if you have any questions, I don't know. The idea here is you want to kind of tell a story, whether it be, about like the actual designs that you've created, make sure that you are building a brand and you're connecting with others, because you can make all of this website stuff, you can make all of this portfolio stuff, and then it could just not go anywhere because you do not promote it, right? Or you sit on it and you don't apply. So later on today, we'll have some talks about that include actually keywords and things. So a job search one, as well as we'll be talking about like some skills that are needed for digital media in general, like a general overview of digital media. Within SJCC, how can we help with your journey? We have classes that will get you to your goals, fantastic professors I'm not saying myself, but professors like Professor Jodali, Professor Ashba, and others that will help give you feedback and further advise you in your journey. These are the degrees that we have, as well as certificates that we currently have running right now, and ones that are almost here. And again, ask questions of this. We'd love to help guide you in your way, as well as if you have a counselor, work with them to make sure that you're on track to getting to your goals within our program. Now, what's next? Um, if you see here, there's a QR code. That's the schedule of events for this week. We're really proud that we have so many amazing industry professionals that are helping us this week, as well as if you want to stick around in a few minutes, um, I'm going to go ahead and come back again to talk about digital media arts careers. So when I was talking about keyword searches and things like that, you might not know what job titles exist that you could actually search for digital media, or you might be really new to digital media arts and not know what path you'd like to go. So that's what we're going to be talking about from 1:30 to 2:30 at the same place, same link. So if you want to hop on Zoom again at that time, we'll be talking about that. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me today and taking some time.